Oh whoa, what's this? A new ESO event? You heard right. The Seals of Zenithar event is an upcoming event in the Elder Scrolls Online that's set to debut sometime in the next few months. A few content creators and websites have already covered this new event and what exactly it entails, as well as how to earn your event tickets from it. Rather than repeating what others have already stated, I'll leave some links to my favorite guides in the description of this video for those wishing to learn more about the event itself. In this video, I'll be focusing on the gold earning and item acquiring aspect of the event. And this new event in particular has a lot of avenues for making a lot of gold. Makes sense considering the fact that Zenithar is the god of commerce after all. I tested the event out with a friend on the PTS so that I could provide you all with some insights that may not be so readily known. Every ESO event has some kind of reward coffer that can be earned by completing event-related tasks. In this case, you can earn Zenithar's delightful parcels by completing the following in-game activities. Of all of these activities, I foresee that completing master writs and defeating group bosses and world events while grouped up with guildies will be the most profitable and efficient means to earn these reward boxes during the event. I believe this to be the case because neither of these activities have a daily limit, a reward box is guaranteed upon completion, and these activities can be completed with ease. I do want to quickly mention a few quirks that I ran into while testing things on the PTS, in the event that they persist when this event goes live. Firstly, there were a few instances where I would not receive a reward parcel upon defeating a world boss or event while grouped up with a guildie. For example, I took this cinematic footage of Drakkar attacking a dolmen for this video and only joined the battle once the final boss spawned in. Upon looting the reward chest, I did not receive a Zenithar parcel, but Drakkar did. This could suggest that killing the final boss of this world event was not sufficient enough for me to earn a parcel, and that I likely had to have participated in the fight prior to it. Something similar happened to me a few more times with some world boss encounters. I found that I was more likely to not receive a parcel if I took a moment to grab a nice shot for the video rather than fighting the boss non-stop. But I still did a decent amount of damage, and we were the only two fighting these bosses. Anyways, I figured that this would be worth sharing in case you planned on partaking in large-scale fights with loads of people to earn parcels. If you aren't dishing out enough damage, or if you don't get the chance to because things are getting melted by hordes of players, like the dolmens in Alakir for example, this may potentially affect your eligibility for receiving parcels, even if minor bugs like this one get patched out. Speaking of bugs, I have reported this bug and the following bug on the forums, and the devs have been made aware of them. Fingers crossed these bugs don't make it to the live server. They never mentioned on the patch notes whether or not either of these bugs got sorted out, so I figured they would be worth mentioning. The second bug, at least I hope it's a bug, is that rewards that drop from Zenithar reward parcels are bound, meaning you can't trade them with others. This has to be a bug, as the entire premise of the event revolves around acquiring gold and trading. Anyways, I just thought I'd mention this just in case. I'd hate to talk about trading and get you guys all excited only for you to feel debated. Regardless of whether these rewards end up being bound or not, let's get into some of the best ways to earn the reward parcels. The use of add-ons in particular can make the process of completing and turning in a shitload of master writs at once quite feasible, but even the crafting quest marker quality of life update makes this process fairly painless. The added bonus to this endeavor is that you'll be able to receive a lot of writ vouchers. I've heard others suggest that the prices of master writs may potentially increase substantially during this event, but quite honestly, it is not worth it to purchase writs at a heightened price with the intention of completing them for Zenithar reward parcels. A vast majority of these parcels yield pretty mediocre goods that are hardly worth overpaying for master writs. You'll be losing money if you do so, especially if the rewards end up being bound on pickup and likewise untradeable. I think this is one of those cases where if you're planning on doing writs anyways, then you'll be earning a little extra bonus when you do, which is nice. Or perhaps you may want to hold off on doing all of your master writs until this event to get the most out of your time. But I would definitely not recommend buying up master writs for ludicrous prices as a means to farm these event coffers. I think you'll find that it will hardly be worth the gold exchange. This isn't an XP event after all. Guilds oftentimes form groups among themselves to go around killing world bosses and world events for zone completion initiatives or as a means to farm daily reward coffers as it is. If you've ever participated in any of these social guild events before, you may have found that you can speed through zones if you've got some big PP DPS in your group. And if RNG is favoring you by having world bosses or events up and available for smacking upon arrival. The added bonus of partaking in this endeavor is that you'll be able to receive reward coffers from the corresponding daily quest givers of specific DLC zones upon defeating the world bosses or events associated with their quests. These daily reward coffers can drop valuable style materials, pieces of gear, and motifs that are specific to each zone. I recommend being savvy with your time and picking up world boss dailies to share among your guildmates so that you can get 2 birds stoned at once and receive a daily reward coffer and a Zenithar reward parcel for each world boss kill. Nuking simple world bosses in starter zones may be a time-efficient means to farm bosses as well. These bosses generally die quicker, and there may be less players farming in these zones because of the lack of world boss dailies in them. The Zenithar reward parcels have a chance to drop the following rewards. While a majority of the items that you'll receive from these coffers are kinda crappy, a handful of these rewards are useful and can be sold to other players, hopefully, if you'd like to earn some extra gold. I'm sure you all must recognize a lot of them, but I'd like to direct your attention to a few of these rewards in particular. Hey, we may not be receiving the Battle Mage class or spellcrafting skill line in this upcoming chapter, but at least we'll be able to cosplay as a Battle Mage with this new event style. I personally think that this new style looks amazing. As always, the start of the event is when you'll find that you'll be able to sell your event style pages for the greatest sum of gold. Their value will then depreciate over time as more and more players receive these style pages from completing event tasks and listing them on their traders. What I like to do, personally, when it comes to earning gold from event styles, is to sell my event style pages for a lot of gold on the first day or so of the event, when their prices are at an all-time high. I will then repurchase these event styles towards the end of the event for myself. Sometimes I'll even get multiples of a certain event style page if I believe that their value will recover in time. This way, I gain style pages to learn for myself and potentially resell for profit sometime down the road. And I effectively lose nothing while doing so, since the gold cost at the end of the event is less than the gold I earned from selling these style pages during the beginning of the event. Out of the roughly 20 Zenithar parcels that I got one day, I received 1 Hierarch spellsword style page. I know that's not a whole lot of data, but hopefully this drop rate information can help you decipher a starting price for these style pages, as well as how quickly you can expect to see a decrease in their prices. At least we know that these style pages won't be dropping as frequently as those damn spider legs from this past Jubilee. A more common drop was the currency pouch. These typically contain a small sum of gold or telvar in them, but there's a tiny chance that you could receive a jackpot amount of currency, containing either 100,000 gold or 100,000 telvar. The latter is worth so much more than 100,000 gold, so pray to Zenithar that you get blessed with that jackpot. Real quick, if you do receive the 100,000 telvar jackpot and wish to convert that into gold, I recommend purchasing the following items from the Imperial City vendors with your telvar to then sell for gold. Some other pieces of information that might be worth noting is that the style that dropped from these parcels dropped in groups of 5, and minor upgrade materials like elegant lining, pitch, and iridium grains dropped in groups of 10. Alright, that's about it for the event, if that's all you were interested in, but before we wrap up this video, I did want to pose a question to you guys because I find that it is pretty relevant to this event. I imagine that those of us that are interested in farming Zenithar parcels are mostly going to do so by way of farming world bosses and events with guildies. Something that I think will become apparent, if it hasn't already, is that a lot of world bosses get absolutely rolled and smoked when approached by a group of adventurers. These big baddies don't stand a chance, unlike the world bosses in other online games, so I've been told, which require the cooperation of hordes of players in order to be defeated. Hence the term world boss or world event, right? ESO world bosses in particular are honestly very easy to solo so long as you understand their mechanics. And before you label me as a toxic elitist for saying that, I'd like to point out that I'm really not. When I first started playing ESO, I spent my first 3 months exclusively RPing at the Withered Tree Inn in Riften. At the time, I knew more about which emotes were best in slot for ERP than I knew how to do a DPS rotation, and that thought did not bother me. Once I found out about world boss dailies and how financially rewarding they were, I challenged myself to fight these world bosses to be able to fund my crippling motif addiction. Taking on these world bosses with my shitty Hunding's Rage and Night Mother's Embrace gear. Yeah, Embrace. I didn't even have the right Night Mother set SMH my head, was my introduction into PvE in this game. It didn't take me long to understand how to best these beasts, and because I had such a fun time fighting them, I was inspired to progress further into the PvE side of things. I eventually became competent enough to DPS in more difficult content. Honestly, soloing world bosses helped me become comfortable in PvP as well, as I got used to the notion of dishing out damage while healing myself upon being pressured. Something you don't really experience as a DPS in group PvE content like dungeons. But once I got to that point in my PvE journey, soloing 99% of world bosses, not you, and a majority of world events became an absolute cakewalk. As a result, killing them became less exciting and more grindy in nature. No longer did I feel like an absolute giga-chad, killing these monsters and receiving glorious bounty as a means to thank me for my honorable service. I just felt like I was mindlessly grinding something, no different than farming mats. Not that I mind killing world bosses by only exerting the brain power produced by 2 brain cells, heck no. I enjoy steamrolling them with guildies to efficiently receive valuable items to sell for gold. But man, do I long for that feeling of a challenging experience that once had me excited to take on the troubles that plagued Tamriel when I was but a casual role player as a means to earn gold. I think the argument could even be made that world events and world bosses shouldn't even be soloable in the first place. I even had a viewer comment something to this effect in a recent video. I know this has been a hot topic recently, so I didn't want to glaze over it when a majority of this event is likely going to revolve around farming these world bosses and incursions. So what do you guys think about the level of difficulty of overland content in this game? Is it fair and reasonably attuned such that progressing from a delve boss to a world boss to a world event is a fluid and logical process, where being affluent and killing one fully prepares you for killing another, and you feel a sense of excitement while doing so? Or is there a noticeable disparity between the difficulties of each overland entity? Or perhaps they're all too easy to kill altogether, ultimately leaving you frustrated or unsatisfied with your overland PvE experience. I'd be interested to hear what you think. Anyways, I hope this video has been able to help you better understand how to efficiently earn reward parcels and gold during this event, and maybe give you a little food for thought concerning prominent overland activities that are quite financially rewarding on their own. I'd like to thank my YouTube members for sponsoring this content, and all of you for watching and supporting what I do. I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers!